Good morning. My name is Geoff Grow. I'm the founder and CEO of Service Objects. And I'd like to run you through some slides today, teach you a little bit about address validation. Hope you can learn something about delivering packages, delivering letters, dealing with your customers, and hopefully improving better relationships with your customers through better mailing this holiday season. I've got about 20 slides. Shouldn't take too long if time permits. I hope to answer a few of your questions. So let's get started. Thanks. So hopefully everyone can hear me just fine. And I will bounce on right over to the next slide. Address validation is a tough problem. Address validation is a really tough problem. We've been trying to solve this for maybe 900 years that we've had trying to deliver packages for services. But I thought I'd start with this real fun address. This is an address that I saw on Reddit recently that it was interesting. I thought it was great. Someone really wanted to get this delivered, but you can see from it, they just didn't know how to put the address in here. This is an address in Iceland. The city is Unaddressed, and it was addressed to a Danish woman who works in the supermarket. And this actually got there. The woman reposted this on her Facebook account, which made its way to Reddit, but shows you some of the difficulties trying to get a letter to a horse farm in Iceland with a Danish couple and 3 kids and lots of sheep. But this got there. Our goal, what we try to do, is try to make sure that every letter, every package is successful. It's really been our life's work. And I want to show you a little bit about why we think addresses are super important. Delivery of addresses, or getting addresses delivered, are super important because for delivery of goods. If you're in a merchant, an online merchant, and you have shipments, this is a key important item for you. Also, delivery of services, whether it be emergency services, or you're a plumber, or you're an ambulance service, it's important that you have valid addresses. If you're mailing invoices, 100% of the invoices that are not mailed, 100% of the addresses that don't get mailed won't make it to the inbox, won't make it to the mailbox, and won't make it there. If you're trying to assign a school district or do any type of districting, good addresses are very important. Good addresses are also very important for voter management. Whether you're a government, a local agency, and you're trying to set up a precinct, having good addresses and knowing the locations of those addresses is very important. If you're a bank or financial institution, having lending to these addresses is very important. You want to know where your properties are, and also you want to assign risk based on where those addresses are. For tax compliance, this is a new thing that's become in the forefront in a lot of news lately, is assigning the right tax rates to the right properties. In the past, we've had, we could assign tax rates at the zip code level, but it looks like it's gotten a little bit more complicated, and I'll talk to that. But also, good addresses are most important for postal discounts and shipping optimization. If you're a merchant and you're shipping items, it's important to know the address and have a good address worldwide so you can optimize your shipping methods. You can determine if you want to ship via USPS, via FedEx or DHL, based on the postal or based on the address information you have. And above and beyond, we believe that good addresses are kind of the cornerstone of good customer service. If you have a recurring relationship with a client, it's important that you have good addresses straight away. Good addresses are very important. Every year, the United States Postal Service ships 158 million addresses. So that works out to about 500 million items per day. Of those 500 million items per day, 28 million are undeliverable as addressed. That means they can't be direct, they can't find the owner, or they can't be delivered to the mailbox. So half of those 28 million are due to bad addressing errors, and the other 50% are due to the individual has moved. The amount of undeliverable mail is going up. This is primarily because consumers are at the self-service portals, mostly websites, and they're typing in their own address. And as a result, they're fat fingering, they're making mistakes on the entry. They maybe don't know their complete address, or they don't feel like they need to put in the complete address. They think that acronyms and shortages are certainly work best. There's absolutely no reason today that any mail should be returned at all. Using data science and new machine learning, we should have better data hygiene in our systems. Each day, about 5 million pounds of paper get wasted, 30,000 trees, and the Postal Service says they spend about $1 million gallons of fuel each day just trying to reroute, return treated waste or dead mail. It's been our life's work to try to eliminate bounced emails. We want to make sure that, not bounced emails, bounced mailings. We want to make sure that every address in every system is as accurate and up-to-date as it possibly can be. So let's get right into it. This is a standard address validation issue. Here we have a problem with every line of this address. The street address is wrong, the city is misspelled, the state is slightly misspelled, and the zip code is off as well. When we validate this, you'll see that we were able to fix the address. It's 27 East Coda, Suite 500. The city is Santa Barbara. The state was corrected to California, and the zip code is now proper, 93101 with the zip +4, 7603. What we've done here is using data sciences, using a high-value data quality engine, we're able to use phonetic spellings and phonetic matching and soundex matching to correct this address. Here's another example of something we commonly see, very similar to the first example. This address is missing a unit number, an apartment number, or a floor number. No doubt, a lot of you who are listening today see this problem over and over again, where the address that you have is missing that last piece of information to make it deliverable. In this case, we can use the Sweet Link technology, compare the company name to the address, and append the Suite 500 that you see on the right part of the address there. Everything else of this address looks good. It was missing the Sweet Link, and that's something that a good address validation technology can help with. More advanced problems that we see a lot are very difficult for us to correct. In this example here, all we have is Amherst Street, Weathersfield, Connecticut, 06109. We do have last name and we do have phone number, but you can see that this address is missing a street number. This address is so bad, if we put it through the traditional tools, it would say, address not found, no street number present. But using clues from the unique last name, using clues from the unique phone number, we're able to append a missing street address number. And in this case, it's 208 Amherst Street, Weathersfield, Connecticut, 1906. So while this isn't a traditional CAS correction or traditional USPS correction, we are able to append the missing street number by using compiled data sources like the white pages. There are also problems in different areas of the country. In Hawaii, for example, they have very unique mailing requirements. The address on the left is shown as 68121 space 402 space AU. This was a real address and something that we saw in our address correction system. The city was Waialua and the state was Hawaii. Quite a few things wrong here. We've had to reprogram the system and work with the Postal Service to get this corrected. So now this system, this address, when run through our address validation system, would actually return 68-121 Au Street, apartment 402, Waialua, Hawaii, and the proper zip code gets appended as well. Again, Hawaii has some unique requirements, and just using the pure United States Postal Service tools would not get you to this corrected address. We have a similar issue in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has some special rules because of their Spanish heritage that they require urbanization and building names on every single address. It's quite common to see Puerto Rican addresses without a physical street address. In this example, we have Atlantic Plaza, apartment 901, San Juan, Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, it's very important to have both the building name and the street address. And this address would correct here to condo, or this is the abbreviation for COND is the abbreviation for condo, the building name in address line 1. Address line 2 has the physical street address here at 1402 Calle Cavencia, apartment 901. And then the zip. Here we appended the zip 00907, zip +4. Very difficult to address packages for Puerto Rico. They use a scheme that's unique, and it's important that your system also is aware of addresses in Puerto Rico. Another problem we're commonly seeing is as FedEx and UPS continue to do more of the work in the channel, the delivery channel, traditional USPS validation isn't always working. This address here, 16 Old North Juniper Lane, Mammoth Lakes, California, is a very valid address. In fact, the picture of the house is just below. This address here is not USPS mailable. In fact, if you run this address through the United States Postal Service tables, you'll find that the data, they'll just say this is an invalid address, when in fact it can receive shipments from both FedEx and UPS. So if you focus on, or if much of your business is shipping via FedEx or shipping through UPS, you want to use alternate data sources. It is estimated that there are 5 million locations throughout the United States that are not deliverable by the United States Postal Service, but can be delivered by FedEx and can be delivered by UPS. And this is really important as we start to look at last mile deliveries. In some cases, you see United States Postal Service doing the long haul and FedEx doing the final delivery, or vice versa. You'll see FedEx doing the long haul and USPS or UPS doing the final delivery. So there's a new, and this has caused a little bit of friction, especially this year, as the companies are acting more in a cooperative nature and less in a competitive nature. And that we've had to quickly adopt some new mailing rules to help with some of these issues. Here we have, and here's an example of one of those hybrid address issues. Here we have a physical address of 15 Pine Drive in Jackson, Wyoming. This address belongs to this consumer, John Locke. And we know this address cannot receive USPS mail. In fact, John has to go to his P.O. box to receive his mail, P.O. Box 1637 in Jackson, Wyoming. Now, these two locations are only about 2 miles from one another, but John does not receive mail information. So we have the ability now, thanks to the Postal Service and a new set of rules that are being published, to create a hybrid address. This hybrid address is a combination of both his physical address and his P.O. Box address. So whether the shipment is done by USPS or UPS or DHL or FedEx, this is a carrier-agnostic address, and it should be verified and it should be accepted by online e-commerce systems. Because here, if the package is being delivered by the United States Postal Service, they'll simply put the package in John's P.O. box, and that's great. He's going to get the package. If the package is being delivered by, say, FedEx or by UPS or by DHL or some other carrier, they do have enough information here to be able to get that information to his doorstep. At least we hope. That blended address is becoming more popular, and we're seeing a lot of examples where this address traditionally would fail in the United States Postal Service scheme, But once recognized as a hybrid address, it's being passed and it is winding up in e-commerce systems. Another example of a very difficult set of addresses to process has less to do with commerce, but more to do with taxation and voter registration and emergencies. Emergency service, social services. We commonly will see two side-by-side addresses that are on different county borders. Here I have an address 1, which is in Westminster, Colorado, and the zip is 80020. And the second address is also in Westminster, Colorado, and the zip is 80020. Now, while these addresses are right across the street from one another, and these addresses share the same zip code, 80020, they are in two different counties. Address 1 is in Broomfield County. Address 2 is in Jefferson County. And this is super important if you're trying to assign taxes, voter registration, emergency services, social services. We're trying to figure out school districts. It's no longer, in the past, you've been able to roughly map zip codes by counties, but that rule is out the window now. For proper taxation and proper e-commerce, what you need to do is map these locations to the county level at the address level. Because zip code is no longer gradual enough. As I mentioned earlier, over 40 million people move each year. And this is a big deal for e-commerce systems and online merchants because they may have an old address in the existing system. They might have it in their shopping cart or their CRM or their ERP system. So the next example is an example of Michael Wilson, and this is his original mailing address, and this might be an address you have stored in your system. 802 East Coda Street, Santa Barbara, California. But what you can't see, and this, even though this address will pass traditional address validation, you can't see that Michael moved. About 6 months ago, Michael moved. He processed the form with the United States Postal Service. He now lives at 100 West Ortega Street. He has a new zip code. And this happens about 15% across the country each year. Or I may say that again a different way. About 40 million people move each year. Some most within the same county, but many within a different state or a different region within the same state. So this shows the importance of updating your shipping addresses. Should you send an item to Mike Wilson at 802 East Coda, well, he's moved. And even though you may fix this address somewhere downstream, which I hope you do, it's important to get that information back into your ERP system or your CRM system so that you can keep your systems up to date. And because as we discussed earlier, having the most current address will help you provide the best level of customer service and help you identify shipping errors before a problem occurs. So we talked about address validation, we talked about change of address issues. I want to talk a little bit about the problems with international addresses. And I think we've got that covered as well. At least we're doing much better than where we were 10 years ago. United Nations has about 193 member countries. We support all of them in some fashion. Altogether, there are 240 countries or territories, like special regions like Bermuda or Hong Kong or Guam. And our goal is to have address information for each one of those countries. If we can have premise information, that's great. If we can get street address information, that's perfect too. Postal code, well, we'll take it if we can get it. Our goal here is to try to convert each of these addresses of yours into Latin character sets, not necessarily English. We can still do multi-language, but this will allow these Latin character sets will allow you to store these addresses in your modern ERP system. So this example here is for 15 Radnor, Toronto. The province was intentionally misspelled. It should be Ontario, but it's Ontario. And when we correct this through our service now, it comes out to 15 Radnor Avenue, Scarborough, Ontario. Scarborough is very close to Toronto. And we've appended a new postal code, the M1PG13. this address is unique because there was quite a bit wrong, and it's a good correction for Canada. But we also have the ability to store this in a French language if you want, so things would be slightly different. Many of our customers are looking for address validation solutions in global or other countries, in their top markets first. And they tell us that countries like United Kingdom and Canada, like you just saw, or Australia, or Mexico, Germany, Japan, Brazil, China, are very important to them. So we work very hard with those countries to try to make sure we have premise-level data wherever possible. This is an example out of Australia. On the left is original address, and here we have a misspelling in the address, a misspelling in the city. The postal code is correct, and the country is correct here as well. When we process this address, we get a corrected address. It returns Unit 1. It's a premise-level match for us, 28 Middleton Street, Petersham. The postal code's been addressed. We've added a new province, which wasn't originally there, New South Wales in Australia. And this correcting the address is only one part of the problem here. Now we need to provide a correctly formatted address. And every country has its own unique set of rules. Some people start with the postal code and drill down to the premise. Here in Australia, it goes Unit 1, street address, the city, the province, and then the postal code. Very, very similar to the United States. So we have two problems with global address verification that you need to be aware of. First, that you need to correct the address and get it down to the premise level. And then you need to format the addresses for their culture, for their standards. And this is a unique example of that. As I mentioned earlier, we're really focused on looking for solutions and address verification solutions in the top markets. And the top markets, again, are New Zealand and Canada and Australia and Mexico. Of course, the US, Germany, Brazil, China, Ireland, New Zealand. But there are still a large number of countries, over 50% of the countries, who really have inadequate addressing schemes. Roughly 4 billion people in the world are completely invisible to mail service. And they're unable to receive aid, they're unable to vote, and it's really impeding their growth and development of their entire nation. So I wanted to talk about a new solution from a nonprofit that we're supporting, which I think is kind of exciting. So it's called Addressing the Unaddressed. The nonprofit is called Three Little Words, and what they attempt to do is they attempt to assign 3 little words to every location in the world. In this case, in that lakefront house, here's a picture of that house in Iceland, we could put an address like happy.keys.book on the main house. The guest house could be gold.glasses.lamp. And maybe the boathouse or the farmhouse could have yet another address. This example is, this engine is built by a nonprofit called Three Little Words. And in this example here, if you lived in Hyde Park, maybe this was your address happened to be in this segment or this 10-foot square here, your address would be legs.book.smart. And if you didn't like that one, maybe you'd go just a little over to the right, and you'd be bliss.teeth.exams. What Three Words has done is that they've put a global grid over the entire Earth. They've come up with 57 trillion 3x3 meter squares, and to each 3x3 meter square, they've assigned a set of 3 words. Words that can be communicated easily, words that have no ambiguity, words that can also be translated in multiple languages. They've also have a geocoder service that helps them turn geographic coordinates into locations, and vice versa, locations into 3 little words, so that it's very easy to communicate. And their little application runs on a cell phone, and it's quite interesting. Let me see what else I wanted to mention about this. It's commonly used in a lot of rural areas. In fact, in Mongolia, they're now using 3 little words for food delivery, and there are hundreds and hundreds of other businesses starting to use this, especially in emerging markets, for address delivery. So to kind of wrap up here, and I know we've covered a lot of ground, if you're looking for a new address validation solution to improve delivery, really focus on your top markets and start small. If 80% of your packages are within the United States, focus just on the United States alone. You'll see an increased improvement. If you're already doing US and Canada is your second market, look for a vendor that also supports Canada as well. The second thing you should be looking for is try to match your shipping method to your data set. If you're shipping through FedEx and UPS, you should be looking beyond the traditional USPS data set. It's important because the USPS data set is really a subset of areas, and they don't make home deliveries to a lot of locations. And you'll be turning away up to 5% of your customers if you're not looking at other data sets for the shipping method, for scrubbing the shipping method. If possible, correct your addresses at the point of entry, whether it be a call center or the back office that's putting into the CRM, or if it's on your online website. If you can do correction at the point of entry, you're going to have a much cleaner database. And if you can provide suggestions such as 123 Main Street South or 123 Main Street North to help clean up the database as data is being entered, that's even better. Also, quarterly, biannual, or even annual updates to update your databases, your ERMs, your ERP systems, your CRM systems, your e-commerce systems, so that you have the latest updates or the latest change of addresses. That data is available for many countries. We only support the US now, but it is important to try to get the change of address data should you be shipping items as well. Finally, spend a little bit of time on training your staff for address formatting. Addresses vary from country to country, and you really want to prevent them from trying to Americanize each of the addresses. Not everyone has address line 1 is a street address, so it's important that they're aware and sensitive to those issues, and it will definitely help your delivery rates as well. Lastly, keep an eye on new types of addressing schemes. Be familiar with this hybrid address where you have both a P.O. box and a physical mailing address wrapped into one, or the global addressing schemes like we talked about here with Australia. And also keep an open mind for the modern schemes. I think it would be exciting to see which way things like this 3 little words worked out. In closing, I wanted to just end with this piece of research from Serious Decisions. We call it the one, well, it's not we call it, everyone calls it the 1-10-100 rule. The 1-10-100 rule says it takes $1 to verify the record as it's entered. Actually, it's a lot less. You can verify a record for as little as a penny, but let's go with their study. It takes $1 to verify a record as it is entered. It takes $10 to cleanse it and dedupe it in the back office. And if $100 if nothing is done, as the ramifications of that bad addresses are felt over and over and over again. It's kind of like if you're not validating addresses, it's going to be the gift that keeps giving, because you're going to continue to have errors over and over again as you try to serve that customer. As you can imagine, Service Objects does provide address verification services, validation services. Our goal, again, is to make sure that every record in every database you have is as accurate and up-to-date as possible. And to do that, we provide several different tools. We have a Cloud API, which is a web service that you can connect to. We also do list and batch processing. And we also have plugins for the key CRM systems and ERP systems. We, of course, have sample code for a lot of this for integration as well. So there's a lot of easy ways to get started. So I want to thank you very, very much for attending. I want you to feel free to reach out to us anytime. We offer a free 30-day trial for our services, and you're welcome to sign up on our website. And I know I've seen a couple questions come in, and I'd like to kind of open it up. I think I have about 5 to 10 minutes here for questions. So let's see what has come in. Let's see, the first one is, yeah, I don't know about that one. I'm going to skip that one. But this one's a little clearer. We're just getting started cleaning up our contacts. What's the recommended first step you take? Wow, that's a good question. I think the best first step is probably trying to, rather than worrying about the integration, is to try a list. To do a batch. You know, send your address out to a service, any service, and see if you can get a baseline of how bad these records are. I think you'll find, depending on how you collect this data, you'll find that up to 50% of your addresses are bad. We have a service, we have a couple different services that will take that list. There are a lot of people who will do the list processing, but that's a great way to get started. How does your service handle non-English language addresses? Well, it handles them very well. We do have transliteration support for different character sets, but our overall goal here is to try to convert these addresses back to a Latin character set. Now, that doesn't mean we're trying to convert them to English. It's important that we try to get these addresses standardized and validated so that they can be stored, easily stored, and searched in modern ERP systems and modern customer management systems. The specialty character sets and the multi-byte character sets, most of our systems aren't quite there yet, so we try to transliterate that into Latin sets. And let's see. We use Marketo. That's all they wrote. Okay, let me see. We use Marketo. Great. We are fully integrated in Marketo. As I mentioned in the slide before, we have API plugins, we have list processing, but we also have the bells and whistles and sample code and source code, and are officially on the Marketo website. So the best way to get started is using Marketo's, I believe their e-commerce store is the launch point. You can download the launch point application in their e-commerce or ecosystem and give our system a try. I believe there's no charge for trying in Marketo as well. Let's see, is there any others? I think we're good. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for your attendance. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out. Thank you very much.